Hi, I'm Kathy Barker from Software Solutions, and in this video I'd like to take you through Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365, and particularly with reference to Microsoft Excel and what you can do with Copilot inside of Microsoft Excel. Now with Microsoft Copilot in Excel, you can ask for help, advice. You can ask it to help you with formulas and functions. You can ask it to highlight, to sort and to filter data. You can ask it all sorts of questions and get suggestions about how you can get business insights from your data. Now the Microsoft Copilot button appears on the right hand side over here of the Home tab in the ribbon. If your Copilot button is dim, then you may want to save your file to a cloud location such as OneDrive or SharePoint. Now a lot of the features also would like you to format your list as a table or some sort of supported list format. So I've got a list of first names, last name and regions here, and to format it as a table quickly, I'm just going to press the key combination Control T. And then I'll press enter. Now that was assuming I was sitting in the list. By sitting in the list and pressing Control T, I convert this entire list to a table. Let me go Control Z to undo. I can also use this key combination Control L. Control L will in fact, if I press enter, also format this list as a table. So use Control T or Control L to format as a supported list or table. You'll know if it's a table because when you're clicked in the list, you'll see the tab Table Design appear in your ribbon. As soon as you click away from the list, you're out of context, and so the Table Design tab disappears, but as soon as you click back in the list, the Table Design reappears. Have a look at Table Design in my Microsoft Excel Level 3 playlist. There's a video in that collection which is dedicated towards the benefits of formatting a list as a table, and learn more about tables. When it comes to a supported list or table, what we're basically saying is that every column has a heading. There's no column without a column heading. Every column heading is unique, so you won't find duplicate column headings. You won't have row headings. There will be no blank columns or blank rows in that list. You can have a blank cell, but you can't have a blank row or column. There will be no subtotals in the list, and there will be no merged cells in the list. And that basically means that you have a supported table or list that Copilot can work with. So let's start Copilot. I formatted this table as a list. I'm going to go to the Home tab in my ribbon, and I'm going to click the Copilot button to bring up the Copilot chat pane. It's in here that it's going to ask me to turn on the autosave, so I'll do that. And then in here, I'm able to ask Copilot a question. Now, what you might find useful working with this Copilot chat pane is you can hold the Control key and move the mouse wheel towards you, which reduces the zoom or the magnification so you can see more. So now you can see I've actually got 4 prompts at the top, and if I hold the Control key and move my mouse wheel away from me, I'm now making it larger. The types of prompts that you get in the Copilot chat pane include create a formula, so it can suggest a formula for you. It can also help you understand by summarizing your data into pivot tables or charts. It'll also highlight all the cells that meet a certain condition. And you can also ask Copilot how to sum or how to do anything really in Microsoft Excel. This becomes pinpointed help is Copilot. So the word Copilot is because it's supposed to be the Copilot sitting next door to you as if you're in a plane and you're on a journey. So a Copilot is a virtual assistant that sits next door to you and actually helps you design your spreadsheet and improve the look of your spreadsheet. There are some other options here like show data insights and so on and so forth. So these are different prompts as well. But you've also got a view prompts button here, which if I click that, you can ask it to create formulas such as generate a formula column, add a column that combines the first and last name, add a column that extracts, add a column that calculates. So there's all sorts of options within the create formulas prompts. Understand would be like show insights that what is the percentage of total income for each region. So notice how the prompt is actually very specific to the data I'm sitting in. How many different teams are represented in this table and what items have the most remaining inventory. If I then go back and go into apply color and formatting, it will want to highlight the lowest 5 budgets or sort the engaged users or filter or even apply some sort of scale to the total column. But there's all sorts of formatting, and you can also ask it, how do I do something in Excel, and I can go back as well. I can also go into here to view more prompts, which is a huge list. If I hold the control key and move my mouse wheel towards me, I can see a little bit more. I can also choose this option, see all prompts. And if I again hold the control key and move the mouse wheel towards me, so being able to zoom in and zoom out in the various parts of Copilot is extremely helpful. But here are a whole lot of prompts that help you get the most out of your Excel spreadsheet, like how do I split text, and how do I spot trends, and how do I calculate, and how do I understand my data. There's all sorts of information in here. Watch my video about how to write effective prompts, because that's the real key to working with Copilot. Let me just close out of here and close out of here. So a prompt is when you ask a question. I might ask this question: bold the top 3 values in the actual column, and then I'll click send or submit. So what Copilot has done is it says, looking at your data, here's a conditional format that you could review and apply. And so it's basically saying make the top 3 actual values bold with the font color black, and I could click apply. And so I can see this figure here, for example, is bold because, and these ones are as well, because they're my top figures. I could click the undo button to undo that, and I could write a more effective prompt. Apply a yellow fill color and a red font and bold to the top 10 values in the actual column. Again, Copilot says, sure, this is how you would go about that, but if you want me to do it for you, just click apply. Copilot says it's done, and as I scroll down, I can see that it has actually highlighted the top 10 values. I might ask another question. Add a new column with the column heading difference that shows a percentage of difference between columns E and G. Send. What I might do is just hide my ribbon so I can see more clearly what's on the Copilot chat pane. So I'm just going to double click Home. Home will collapse my ribbon. Double clicking Home again will expand my ribbon. So I'm going to double click and collapse my ribbon. You can also do it in a variety of other ways, but that's one way. Immediately, if I hold the control key and move my mouse wheel back, I can see more on the screen here. But also, if I want to hold the control key and press the plus, I can zoom in on the Copilot chat pane, and control minus, I can zoom out. So if you don't have a mouse with a wheel, you can use control minus and control plus, and I use those on my number pad to zoom in and zoom out. But what it has done is suggested that in column H, I create a formula. Here is the formula here for me to read. It will then give me examples of the difference, and it also will allow an explanation to be expanded and viewed if I hide or show the explanation. So I'm just going to hide the explanation. I could copy the formula using this button here. I could insert a column and apply the formula by clicking this button here. So I'll click this button. Immediately I have a calculation. It shows me the difference between columns E and G. I can undo if I wish. I can send some good feedback to Microsoft by giving it a thumbs up, or I can give it a thumbs down if I didn't like the response I was given. Now, with writing a lot of prompts, what we often do is refine them, improve them. And so before I get into this, I actually want to show you how you turn on your Microsoft Clipboard Viewer. The Windows logo key and V, if you press that combination, you'll actually see your Clipboard Viewer. And in the Clipboard Viewer, it keeps a record of the last 25 items I've either copied or cut. And so I can see here are some of the prompts that I copied and pasted and then tweaked to suit my purpose. I'm going to clear all, so it clears this completely, and I'll be using this as we work with copying and pasting. So I'll just hit the X for now. Now my next question is, I'd like to create a column that joins the first name and the last name together. So I'm going to ask this question. Create a column called name, which joins the first name, column A, and a space and the last name in column B. And I'm going to take a copy of this. Control C. The more specific you can be, the better. Now I'm going to press enter, which is same as clicking the submit button or the send button. And so Microsoft Copilot within Excel is now generating a formula. As I scroll up, I can see that it says based on my data, we want to combine the first name and the last name. Here is the formula here, which I can copy, so I'll do that. Copy to the clipboard. And here is an explanation which I can expand and read and collapse. And here's an example of what it will create for me. If I can just rest on it and actually get a preview, but if I actually click it, it'll do it. So there's the difference as well. I rest on the button to preview it. If this is what I'm after, I'll click the button. If I click on a cell within column I can actually see my formula has been written up here in the formula bar. If I wanted to paste a question in here that was very similar, I would go Windows V. That would bring up my clipboard. I can then click on the prompt that I typed earlier and then tweak it. Create a column called initials, which joins the first letter of the first name in column A with a full stop and then the first letter of the last name in column B and adds another full stop. And I'll take a copy of this too so it sits on my clipboard. When I press enter or click the send button, Copilot works on this. Again, as I scroll up, I can look at the formula and I could copy that. I can show the explanation and read this. I can also hide the explanation and get an example. And if I rest on the insert column, I can actually see the final result. So I'm going to click it. And here are the initials of each person. Without me having to create a formula, I've asked Copilot to create the formula. Because I've been copying a variety of stuff, if I went Windows V, I can see that the formula was mentioned is here, the prompt I wrote is here, there's the formula I had earlier, and here's the prompt I had earlier. So it's actually quite good to turn on your clipboard and then be able to copy various things to that clipboard and paste them as you need them and work with your various prompts. I might then ask Copilot to sort the data by region in ascending order. Copilot suggests that I apply a custom sort, but I'm going to ask it to apply it by clicking this button. And I can see now that my data is sorted by region. What if I wanted it sorted by department? I'll simply paste my prompt, Windows V, change this to department, and enter. Click apply, and now my data is sorted by department. But if I want to put it back by region, I'll click in the prompt area, press Windows V, insert this text, and press enter. I'll click apply, and my data is back to being sorted by region. Now looking at this Copilot chat pane, as I scroll up, I can see all the questions and the answers that I've been working with. And I'll eventually get back to a button called Chat History. Here it is here. If I click on the chat history, it actually brings up a history of what I've been asking Excel to do. And this is the history of what we've been doing so far. And I can delete that history or delete all history. Or if I want to start now on a completely new topic, I'll make a new chat. And a new chat will basically clear all the stuff that I've been working with and start fresh in a different trajectory. So I'm going to go back to my chat history, ask for new chat, and I start from fresh. And here it is, me starting with a clean slate. If I go back into chat history, the other thing you've got is this little drop down here. No. And if I was to then click on this particular chat history, it would bring everything up again. If I scroll back up, go to chat history and go new chat, I start from fresh again. Let's look at highlighting and sorting and filtering data in an Excel spreadsheet a little bit more closely using Copilot. I'm going to type a prompt. Apply bold and a fill color gold to the top 30 values in the actual column. Enter, and then click apply. As I scroll up and down, the top 30 values have a gold color applied. Let's do another prompt. Highlight green the highest value in the target columns and highlight red the lowest value in the target column, and click apply. The highest values are green. Let's try another prompt. Highlight all difference values less than 0 a light red, and all values equal to 0 a light blue, and all values greater than 0 a light yellow, and apply. So I hope that's given you some ideas about how you can sort and how you can highlight data in your table. But what about filtering data? Let's have a look. First, I'm going to ask Copilot to create a formula. Add a column that calculates if the percentage difference, or the difference, is less than 0, and then show missed, otherwise show achieved. I'm going to insert column, and so I'll have either missed or achieved in this last column. Now let's say I want to filter. I'm going to put this prompt. Filter all items that have a status achieved. Immediately it's picked up that my data now goes to column K, and if I click apply, it will filter out those where the status is achieved, and I can see it's filtered out all those where the status is achieved. I'll then ask it to clear the filter by typing this prompt, clear all filters, and I'll click apply, and I have all my records back. Let's try this prompt for filtering. Filter the table to show those items where the deadline column has a date between the 1st of August 2024 and the 30th of August 2024, and apply. And here are those records. To clear my filter, I'll simply click in the prompt area, go Windows V, and tell it to clear all filters, and enter. I'll go to the prompt, Windows V, and I'll ask it to clear all the filters, and enter. Now you know why I use the clipboard. Makes it a lot quicker. So we can filter, we can sort, we can highlight, and we can add formulas to our list using Copilot. If I'm not sure how to approach something, I can ask Copilot and have a chat. So I'm going to ask a question. How do I filter by more than one column? Copilot will then go and find the answer for me and give me instructions on how I could filter by more than one column. And here's its answer here. Select the range, go to data, apply a filter, and then apply a second filter. And I'm just zooming in so I can read more of what's in this chat here. Let's say I have another question. How do I add a row that sums up the total actual for each region? Now this time it suggested that maybe I create a chart and I can add to a new sheet. And it's literally created a chart and a pivot table that has summed up the actual figure for each region. It also explains to me that Copilot is ever evolving, and currently Copilot does not analyze pivot table and charts in sheets, but it can help you to select and try. But no doubt that is something that will be coming shortly as Copilot gains strength in its abilities. So let's go back to our sheet called targets. Let's say we turn off any filters by pressing the key combination Ctrl-Shift-L. So when you're sitting in a list, Ctrl-Shift-L turns off and turns on the filter. So let's turn off the filter. Now let's scroll to the top of our chat pane. Let's go into the chat history. Let's go into the chat history. And here I can see that I've had 2 chat sessions with Copilot. I want to start a new chat. What I want to do is gain some understanding of my data. So I'm going to click understand. Copilot will look at the data and help analyze the data and make some suggestions. It suggested that maybe we need to total the actual figures by department. So I might add to a new sheet. Immediately, Copilot has created a pivot table which summarizes the actual sales by department, and this is then reflected in a chart, and it's put it in a sheet called Sheet 2. So I'm going to go back to targets. Here are some suggestions here. Total target and average difference. I'm going to click this. I can read about the information, and I can also click Insert Row. Immediately a row has been added to the foot of my table where the difference has been averaged and the target has been summed. I could then ask it to show some data insights. And so the prompts can lead you through the process if you're not sure how to navigate this. And so now it's given me target values by region rather than actual. And I can add to a sheet. I can go back to the data by clicking this button and say, yes, I want to see another insight. And here's another insight. Add it to a new sheet. There we are there. Go back to the data and continue to ask it to create as many data insights as you wish. Let's say I want to create a new chat. I'll scroll up. I'll go to my chat history and I'll choose a new chat for a clean slate. Perhaps I know what I'm after. I'm going to ask Copilot to summarize the total actual by region. Or maybe I've decided I want to know how many full names there are by region. Be as clear as you can. Be as detailed as possible. Give clear instructions. Refer to columns by their letters or refer to columns by their headings so that it actually understands what it is that you're after. And I can add this to a new sheet. And there's the number of people by region. Or maybe ask Copilot to, and I'll go back to the data, summarize the number of full names by result and by region instead of just by region. And I'll add to a new sheet. So whether they achieved or whether they missed and from what region they came from, the number of people. Or I can ask it to perhaps, if I go back to my data, summarize the difference by year. And here we have it here. So I can then add that to my sheet as well. So definitely think about the types of things you'd like to know and ask Copilot to create pivot tables and pivot charts to reflect those results. I'm now going to scroll up to my chat history. I can see there's 4 chat histories now that I can return to at any time, but I'm going to go for a clean slate and a new chat. I want to show you text insights. For example, I've got a whole lot of text survey results here. And so they're not numbers or dates that I can easily quantify. It's just a column full, if I go control down arrow, of over 1,200 text responses to a question. I'm going to ask Copilot to analyze this data and give me text insights. For example, I might ask it to review the customer feedback on this sheet and identify any major themes. Immediately it comes back with a summary of the major themes that are coming out of this feedback about what motivated you, what do you want from this training session. It's a question I asked of a number of students, and so I got a variety of feedback, and here's a summary of what it's saying. I can then copy that summary, put that into a report, put that into an email, and basically summarize what's gone on with this text. Another relevant prompt might be summarize the comments. And here it is here, where it is summarize the comments in a nice list that I can then again copy and use in a report. And now it's starting to give me further prompts that I should be asking of this data. Let's try this one. Percentage distribution of motivation. What do they want from the training? So it's suggesting that I create a pivot table, calculate percentages. So it's giving me assistance as to where I should go next. Or I could put a prompt such as, can you tell me about the descriptions in a professional tone with 2 main bullet points? Because that's what I need for my report. And here we are here. This is a summary of what motivates them to do the training. Goals for improving proficiency and a desire for knowledge and efficiency. That is what I'd copy and paste and put into whatever document I needed to put it into. But I can also use Copilot just to help me learn Excel. So let me ask this question. I'm trying to learn how to use Excel. What is the first thing I should try to learn? Basic navigation and data entry? Basic formulas and functions. And at any point in time, if you think that it's taking too long, you can tell it to stop generating. But here it's suggesting that these are the initial steps I should take in learning Excel. Another prompt might be, what are the best keyboard shortcuts for navigation? Because I'm getting tired of it taking so long to move around a spreadsheet. And here we are here. The best shortcut keys there are for navigating around a spreadsheet. So use Copilot to teach you how to get the most out of Excel as a tutor. Besides asking Excel questions to help you learn about Excel, you can also ask Excel questions about functions or formulas you don't understand. For example, I might ask it, could you please explain this formula to me? And so here Copilot is attempting to explain exactly what that formula is doing. Or maybe I've seen instances of a certain function and I want to know more about it, such as, can you give me an example of how I would use the text after function? And so it gives me information about the text after function and how you might use it. So use Copilot to learn about Excel and to answer questions about functions. Let me start another new chat. Perhaps I want to know more about pivot tables. I'm going to ask a question. Can you tell me the basics for creating a pivot table? And here we have it here. These are the basic steps that you would take to create a pivot table, including customizing that pivot table and refreshing that pivot table. Perhaps I have a question about how do I split this full name into a first name and a last name column? So I tell it to split the full name column into 2 separate columns. Not only does it give me the formula and a bit of an explanation, but it also enables me to choose the insert columns. If I just rest on it, I can preview. But if I click the insert columns button, it literally has done it for me. Maybe I now need to add a column. I want to add an email column, which is their first name, full stop, their last name @softwaresolutions.co.nz. It provides again an explanation that I can expand or collapse. It provides me with a formula I could copy, or I can just rest on the button to see a preview. Doesn't always work, maybe because I've got these 2 columns selected. So if I rest on it now, still doesn't work, but I'm going to click insert because I always have the option to undo. And here is a new column called email, where it has joined together the first name and the last name in lowercase and added @softwaresolutions.co.nz domain name to the end. What if I now want to work with dates? Let me just ask Copilot another question. I'd like Copilot to add a column for the quarter of the deadline column. So that's column E, where we see some dates here. And so if the financial year begins in April, I need this starting with the first quarter, April, May and June. Again, an explanation is provided, a formula is provided that I could copy, an explanation is provided I could expand and collapse, and a little preview is provided. If I rest on the button, I can get a preview of what it's going to insert. If I click the button, it has now created a column called quarter, which breaks my data into quarters, with the first quarter starting in April. Let's have a look at other things you can do with Copilot. Here I have a list of 5 options, and the response has either been yes or no. Is there one way that I can define the number of rows that contain at least 1 yes without having to create a helper column? So I'm going to ask that question, and immediately Copilot starts working on it. It informs me, yes, there is an answer to the question. Here is the formula here. Again, a little bit of an explanation. And I would have to then put the formula in. So let me copy the formula. Let me go down here, number of rows that contain at least 1 yes. And the answer is, if I paste the formula in and press enter, 6. The beauty of the formula is it's actually looked at my data and it's ascertained the actual cell references for me. So I don't have to work out the various arguments in my formula being B3 to G12. It has worked that out for me. So I hope that lets you see the power of Copilot in Microsoft Excel. You can use it to highlight, to filter, to sort data. You can use it to insert columns and apply formulas. You can use it to create pivot tables and pivot charts. You can use Copilot Chat to help learn more about how to effectively work with Excel. You can ask for it to create business insights, and you can ask it to do all sorts of things, and it's just growing in terms of its capability. The trick is to write effective prompts. Put a lot of effort into clearly defining what it is that you're after, and you'll get a better response from Copilot. A good prompt really should contain 4 parts. What is your goal? What is it that you want from Copilot? What is the context? What do you need, or why do you need it? And who is involved? What rows, what columns, what cells, what ranges, what your expectations are. Are you expecting a formula? Are you expecting a pivot table, a pivot chart? And fourthly, the source. What information can you give Copilot to give you the answer that you're after? I do hope you've enjoyed this video. My name is Kathy Barker. Ka kite.